Why do people find vegans so annoying?
Why?
I don't know. I've never had any beef with them.
Oh, and there goes all our vegan listeners.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Squared podcast, where the brain and belly meet. I'm Sharon from the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from the Chef vs. Baker. And this week we are talking about one of our favorite meals of the day.
Brunch.
It's actually a rebroadcast of our brunch episode. So let's talk about it.
Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.
Winter, how was your Mother's Day?
Oh my goodness. It was good.
Yeah?
I held it together. You know, Mother's Day can be kind of a loaded thing in my case.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got some history in a lot of cases. And so I was a little concerned about it. But my wonderful husband and several of my friends gave me permission to check out if I needed to. And I did.
Good.
Yeah, it was great. Just for like a little portion of the day.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was nice. So I was like, I got to go sit over here and read a book.
Well, you got to do some self-care sometimes.
Exactly.
That's a good thing.
I had a good friend help me out with that. And she just sat and talked with me. It was great. Like, I appreciate that so much. So yeah, my Mother's Day was good because of that.
Nice.
Checking out. It's a thing.
It is.
How was your Mother's Day?
It was great. We went to brunch.
Brunch. Favorite meal of the day.
Yeah. The family took me out to brunch, and that was my Mother's Day gift.
Where did you go?
We went to Left Fork, which is currently my favorite brunch place.
You've talked about Left Fork before, I think once.
Yep. They've got great pie. They've got the pie shelf.
And
I had, again, their blackberry peach.
Those are good combinations that you talk about. So that's awesome. And
then I had a banana cream pie. That was tasty.
Classic.
And the kids both had a chocolate cream pie that looked good.
Which is delicious. I kind of tend towards those cream pies versus a fruit pie.
I normally do too, but this blackberry peach, they have the most outrageously good blackberry jam that's homemade that they make.
And that they have out on the tables, or it comes with toast or whatever?
It comes with toast. So you have to order toast. And sometimes the meals that we get don't come with toast, but we'll order a side of toast just so we can have that jam. And
that's devotion.
And it's this blackberry jam. And so we get the blackberry and peach pie. Sometimes we'll just have a blackberry, but lots of times I'll have blackberry and peach combination. And for some reason that is just so super good.
Okay. Well, that's good. So food, brunch.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great. I love brunch all the time. Anytime anybody wants to take me out, let's do brunch.
Yes.
I don't really want to worry about breakfast.
No, because breakfast is timed. You know, like you got to show up. Like if you're breakfasting out, like that's between 7 and 9.
Yeah.
It's later than 9.
That's way too early, people.
Yeah.
Breakfast is something you eat before you go to work.
Right. And if you were a morning person,
that's fine.
Or if I was a morning person, that would be my favorite time to go out for food, but I'm not. So we default to brunch. Yep. So we are going to get to our main topic in a second, but we're talking about brunch today. We really love this episode and we want you to hear it again. Yeah? Yeah.
So I don't know how do we
play it again, Sam.
And now for the main course.
Okay, let's get down to our first topic at hand. Brunch.
Sharon, breakfast is my favorite, but brunch is a really, really dang close second meal of the day.
I love brunch.
Yeah, me too.
I like the brunch time.
Yes.
Better than the breakfast time.
Yes. Can I tell you a little bit about how brunch came to be?
Yes, please.
It is fascinating.
I mean, brunch came to be for me all about sleeping in and then eating.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So the kind of the history is, let's first of all talk about brunch. The word brunch, it is a portmanteau.
That's fancy.
I know, right?
What's that word?
So a portmanteau is where they kind of take a couple of words and stick them together and come up with a new word. That's a general rule. So obviously, I think everybody knows that it's a combination of the word breakfast and the and lunch, right?
Right.
Okay. So portmanteau, it actually originated in England in the 19th century. And then we'll talk a little bit about how it kind of has evolved, because there's different...
The 19th century?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So basically what was happening was in England, they would have Sunday dinner, and it was usually a fairly heavy meal. It was after church. You would have this very heavy, like there would be heavy meats and savory pies. And so there wasn't really any, so that was a big ordeal. Like they prepared for that. That was a lot of food. So the idea was that why don't we have a meal? So there's a couple of histories. One is like, why don't we have another meal that starts a little earlier, that has coffees and teas and other little smaller foods that are available, and you can transition into this like post-church meal. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. The other thing is it was called I think it was called the hunting day. So people would go out. Sunday was considered the hunting day, so they would go out and hunt. But it took a little bit longer to hunt for their food, so the meal wouldn't start till later.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of variations on what it was for. So hunting, maybe because of church. There's a lot of things. So largely because of that. However, I really like how it has evolved, because there is one particular writer, and I have to actually look up his name. Oh, it was in 1895, and the article is called Brunch, a plea, Plea. His name is Guy Beringer, and it was basically a way to introduce like something a little bit lighter fare, and also it has to be like a more happy meal. Like it was more engaging and lighter and more social.
Brunch is happier than breakfast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that definitely caught on, right? I mean, that's a thing. So in the 1930s.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Kind of caught on in the 1930s in the United States. So that was in England. And this was actually a way for people to, those people that were out the night before.
Yes. I mean, the roaring 20s led way to the 30s.
Yep.
So people were out late partying.
Yep.
Sure.
So it was a way to get people to, have breakfast together, have a meal together, and basically nurse their hangover.
Oh, which could be why Bloody Marys are so popular.
Yep, it totally was. No, seriously, like lighter fare, which could transition into kind of heavier stuff, right? Because brunch, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about designing a good brunch and what brunch foods are appropriate and maybe how to plan one. But definitely that was a late morning meal for those folks that had been out quite late, and
needed some hair of the dog.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it. And so it kind of took off with restaurants, because they're like, oh, we can capitalize on this. People that had been out late, and we can do something a little bit later. But gosh, I bet it's pretty tricky for chefs. I bet chefs hate it, because think about having a pretty busy Saturday evening, full on dinner, and then having to come up with a very tricky menu sometimes with brunch. I think there's some planning and thought that needs to go into it. So
might be why the brunch buffet is popular.
Yes, it totally is. So, and plus if you have to get, if you're getting done at the restaurant at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then having to get up or get staff there early to start preparing things, because it's brutal. Some people still get up really early and go to brunch.
Yeah.
What's up with them?
Yeah, that's breakfast. That's not brunch.
Yeah. So, okay. So like the phase 1 was that kind of church, post-church pre-church meal type of thing. And then in the 1950s, there's another book that talks about, and let me tell you the name of that book. It's called Brunch, A History. And that one is done by Farha Ternikar. And they talk about how there was a phase 2 where it ended up being it was in the 1950s, and it was considered a meal for professional women. So it was very gender specific. Like you think about Sex in the City and people that like ladies that brunch, right? I mean, it's
okay.
Do you see that?
So sure.
Like there's a great episode.
I think dudes secretly love brunch.
Okay.
But they don't go out together for brunch.
Let me tell you.
You have to have like a girlfriend or a wife to go to brunch.
So it's pretty funny because Lee and I love to watch How I Met Your Mother.
Mm-hmm.
And Marshall Erickson gets made fun of because he likes to go to brunch. Yeah. And he wanted to go to brunch with one of his guy friends, but it was just like everybody made fun of him for being too girly. Like it's considered currently, I think it's still considered girly.
Well, you have to have a girl to make it legit, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, culturally or whatever speaking.
Yeah. So,
which is silly. Guys can go to brunch.
Totally.
Guys, if you want to go to brunch, you should go to brunch.
Yeah. So, it's considered kind of a leisurely activity if you think about it. So there's actually a lot of social and gender classifications that go along with brunch, but I think it's changing. Like it'll be interesting to see how brunch evolves.
Break the chains.
Go
to brunch.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting on that front. However, I do want to talk about one type of brunch that I absolutely love, if that's okay.
Okay. What's that?
Dim sum.
Yeah.
So I'm Chinese and I grew up and my family's from Hong Kong. And so the Cantonese cuisine actually has these things called, it's a meal called dim sum. And it originates from way back when, because as travelers were going along the Silk Road, they were like needing spots to stop and have some tea. And so along came these little bite-sized dishes. Basically, if you don't know what dim sum is, it's like tapas, like small dishes.
Small plates.
3 to 4 servings for different things. And so yeah, and generally tea, or you can also say yum cha, which means to drink tea. And then I like to think of a dim sum, like these little dishes, as a buffet on wheels, because you sit at your table, you have a little card, and you look at, somebody pushes a cart along and it's steaming because it's usually steamed.
There's like chafing dishes on the cart, isn't there?
They're
in bamboo baskets.
They're in bamboo baskets. And then there's like something where there's water in the bottom producing steam to kind of keep them warm and stuff like that. So you go and look, they lift up the lids. That's kind of the fun thing, is that you get to they lift up lids and you feel kind of special because you get to, I'm like, I want that. I want that. I want that. And they put them on your table and then they mark your card with a stamp on how big the dish was. And I still love dim sum. And it's basically the Chinese version of brunch, because I mean, some people go as early as 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going that early, but you are going to find those dim sum restaurants generally open from 5 a.m. till about 2. So
yeah, you can't get to dim sum after a certain time.
Yeah. Though I think the trend is changing a little bit, where some restaurants are trying to cater more towards the late night crowd, which totally makes sense, because I would eat dim sum
any time of the day.
Late at night. Oh yeah. Any time of the day, but definitely late at night. I'm like,
it beats
after
the dollar
a
menu
movie or something. Yeah. And it's just fun. There's something to be said about the brunch gathering, because like brunch in general I feel like it is supposed to be lighter and more social and relaxing. And I think that is what dim sum is. Now there's some etiquette when it comes to like pouring the tea and everything. You pour the tea to everybody first before you pour yours, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to thank somebody, you tap your finger on the table to say, kind of, it's almost a symbolic gesture of bowing. I usually probably either do hot water or chrysanthemum tea. I really like chrysanthemum tea. It's yummy. So, but brunch, you guys, you got to try the Chinese version of brunch, because that reminds me of my family. We just love it. It's so good.
It is really good.
Yeah. So how do you brunch, Sharon?
Well, my brunch a lot of times involves eggs.
Eggs.
What's your favorite way to egg? What's your favorite egg?
Over easy.
Easy?
I'm a runny egg girl.
I also like a runny egg. I only got into that as an adult. So I also like scrambled, hard-boiled, poached. Really enjoy the poached.
Yes.
Omelets.
Yes.
I kind of like eggs all ways.
Me too.
I don't know if I've ever had an egg cooked as an adult in a way that I haven't liked. I have a friend who I will call Kay. She knows who she is.
Hey,
She's
Kay.
listening. And she only likes poached eggs.
Why?
Because she doesn't like egg whites.
Oh.
Which I find odd because most people don't like the egg yolk. So she loves poached egg yolk. And that's one of her favorite ways to brunch.
Because that's runnier.
Mm-hmm,
it's a runnier egg yolk.
So she will ask for poached eggs and then she breaks it just so and then eats the yolk out of it.
Oh.
It's hilarious to watch.
Oh.
But yeah, she only likes the yolk. It's a texture issue for her, which I find really fascinating because most people who don't like, if there's a part of the egg that they don't like, it's the yolk and it's because of the texture.
Of the texture. Yeah. It's a little too gloopy or whatever.
Yeah. She's an opposite.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love eggs Benedict.
I do
I'm just
too.
going to put that in there.
I do too.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite dishes to order when I get brunch.
Nice.
And I like all different types of eggs Benedict.
Okay.
One of my favorites is sometimes it'll be on the menu as a vegetarian eggs Benedict or a California eggs Benedict.
Right.
Where they put, instead of the ham, so eggs Benedict, for if you're not familiar, is an English muffin that's split in two. And on each half, there is Canadian bacon or ham and a poached egg on top. And then they put hollandaise on top.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually get my hollandaise on the side because depending on which restaurant you're at, sometimes they can drown the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I like to have the poached egg, crack it or, break it so everything's coated in the yolk.
Mm-hmm.
So the California one, sometimes it'll have bacon and sometimes not, but I like it with the tomato that substitutes the ham.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put some avocado on top of the egg.
Can't go wrong with
good.
avocado. You just can't go wrong with it. At least I love it. I know. And once again, people have texture issues, but I love it.
Me too. There is a local place in Salt Lake City up Immigration Canyon called Ruth's.
Yes.
They have a pulled pork Benedict and it is on cornbread.
Ooh, I don't think I've had theirs.
Man, is that good.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's so many ways you can do an eggs Benedict and you can do it right.
Oh yeah. To do it right too. So like I've had it with the tomato and spinach and the egg. I've had it with tomato, spinach and bacon and egg.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
pulled pork.
I had a crab's eggs Benedict one time.
That is yummy.
It was so good. It was so good because the lemon in the hollandaise sauce was
really sets it off.
Yep, it was perfect. It was like a nice, because the crab that was very, it's very lean if you think about it, and that richness of the egg yolk and the hollandaise sauce just was like,
perfect complement.
It was awesome.
Again, in Salt Lake City, if you're around, Market Street does a great crab eggs Benedict.
Yes, do it.
So, but poaching eggs, have you ever poached an egg?
Yes, a couple of times, and those were fine because I was taking an eggs class.
Oh, see, yeah, you took a class.
Yeah, at Salt Lake Culinary Center, and that was really fun. It was totally an eggs class it was through lifelong learning, and that was really fun, but I was under the tutelage of somebody like, okay, do this now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I fail at those things.
Yeah,
generally.
Poaching eggs, I'm just going to put it out there, is a little bit difficult. There's a technique to it, and there's a couple of techniques out there that you can use. I highly encourage you to look at Joy the Baker has a video of how to poach eggs. It's really good. It works. Also, OXO Good Grips makes an egg poacher. So what it is, it's kind of like an egg funnel to put in your boiling water so your egg will stay intact. Because part of putting it in the boiling water, like you have to create a vortex sometimes.
Yep.
Depending on which technique you're using. But you need to keep the egg all in one place so it stays that, kind of circular shape that you can work with.
Right.
Otherwise, the egg actually spreads out and kind of spiders out and it looks all weird.
Yeah, because the proteins kind of lose you're right.
And it will create a weird texture when you're eating it.
Yes.
If you're an egg white eater, it will create a weird texture.
Yeah.
So OXO Good Grips has this it's a it's silicone and it's a really nice shape, and you can crack your egg into it or pour your egg into it, and it'll stay in the same place in your boiling water, and then you just remove it, the poacher. So it's basically like an egg funnel.
Yeah.
So it'll just keep your egg in the right place, and it's great. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Let's do it.
So yeah.
Yes, I'm all behind the Eggs Benedict and poached eggs. I just suck at them.
Yeah. Well, it's a technique to be learned.
Yes. And I guess if you have tools, now it could be considered a unitasker how we talked about kitchen tools.
Depending on how you use this tool, because it does funnel.
It does funnel.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is that.
Okay. Well, there you go. You got to pick and choose, right? Do you have poached eggs enough to justify this? Right? Remember, that's another thing too. Yeah.
So something that I like to create at home to kind of give me that Eggs Benedict feeling without making Eggs Benedict.
Okay.
Because for me, it's not all about the hollandaise sauce. Sometimes I can take it or leave it depending on what type of Eggs Benedict I have.
Okay.
I want the runny egg and I want the bread. I want that combination. So I make an egg in the hole.
I was going to say, you're going to go towards the egg in a hole.
Yes, I am.
What is an egg in a hole for those who may not know what that is?
Frog in the basket.
Yep. That's another term.
Toad in the hole.
Toad in the hole. I've heard that one as well, which I seriously hadn't heard of these since first time I heard about it was like a year ago.
Egg in the basket. I don't know. There's a lot of different terms. Basically, it's a piece of fried toast with a runny egg in the middle.
And when you say a runny egg in the middle, how do you achieve that?
So a lot of butter. I'm just going to say that's part of the secret to the taste of this egg in the hole. And, there's a lot of fat and I guess butter maybe in the hollandaise sauce. So you kind of get you're getting some of the same flavor.
Yeah.
So to make it slightly healthier, I start off with an olive oiled pan.
Okay.
And then I add butter to that.
Okay.
To create a little bit more flavor depth. So I get a piece of bread and make, about a 3-inch hole in it, which if you have like an average size drinking glass or a biscuit cutter, like a 2 to 3 inch hole is perfect size.
Okay.
So I cut that out of the middle.
Do you do anything with that piece of bread?
I fry that up too.
Yeah, why not?
So I just put that in the side of the pan and just kind of turn it. So I put this bread in the pan, a hot pan with a little bit of olive oil and some butter, and fry it in there. And once one side of the bread is almost done, I'll put my egg in there and crack your egg in the middle, or pour your egg, crack it first and then pour your egg in the middle and let it cook almost all the way through, and put some salt and pepper on the egg on top, and then add a little bit more butter and oil to the pan and flip. And then finish it off on the other side, which doesn't take as long.
That sounds so good. I've never made one before.
It's about like a 3 to 4 minute process altogether. Really about like 3, because you want that egg kind of runny.
I want that egg kind of runny.
Yeah, it's super good. The Pioneer Woman in her first cookbook has a great recipe for it that is easy to kind of do with a little less butter, but man, is it sure tasty. And she's got a lot of more variations for the names listed in there. But yeah, that's a great recipe.
Yeah.
Highly encourage you to try egg in the hole at home.
For your own personal brunch.
It
is actually would be kind of fun to have like a bunch of toasts that have, or pieces of bread with the hole cut out. And when people come over to your brunch, you could just make those. That would be kind of fun to make an egg in the hole.
Well, yes. I think it would be fun to have everybody make their own egg in the hole. The problem with egg in the hole is you really need to eat this hot.
Oh yeah, it would totally taste better.
So then you end up being like a short order cook at your brunch. So let's talk about hosting brunch at home.
Okay.
Egg in the hole isn't my favorite recipe to use for that.
Okay. So what are I have done brunch a couple of times, and I know what I prefer. Like I feel like you have to design your brunch really thoughtfully.
Yeah, because it depends on your theme, if you have a theme. But if you're the one that's hosting and you're putting on the brunch, or is it a potluck brunch that you're hosting?
Yes.
And you can kind of have similar dishes at each. But things like pancakes, French toast, egg in the hole, Those are like an individually made food that once you group it together, doesn't stay, like it'll steam basically.
And then
you pile it on a plate, put the plate in an oven to warm, or maybe you even put it on like a cookie sheet or something, all individually, but it still kind of doesn't really work out as well.
No, because it loses their crispiness. Like that's one of my favorite parts about, like you said, egg in a hole probably would, the crispiness, the French toast, you want a little crispy, I think, on the edges. Yeah, you're right. The steaming factor. Okay.
So yeah.
So noted.
Things that could work well, crepes. Crepes
Those
don't get as crispy.
No, they don't.
You know, you don't expect a crepe to be crispy, so it can steam.
Yeah.
In a big stack, and that's fine.
And it'll
stay warm.
Or they can be cold too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you could potentially prepare those crepes the night before or the day before, and then pull them out with the toppings when everybody's ready.
Yeah.
Something I like to do are breakfast casseroles.
Oh.
So I like to take them and I like to make them. So for potluck or if I'm putting on a brunch.
And those breakfast casseroles are generally egg and some sort of meat, maybe some veggies.
Sure. I mean, those are healthier ones. You can do French toast casserole.
Yes.
Which is like a bread pudding, but French toast.
Yeah.
I've made one with Coco Lopez.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's a drink mixer, coconut cream drink mixer.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a tropical French toast.
Yum.
That's good. But there's some good egg-based casseroles that to keep it healthy, if you want to keep it healthy. I've done one with a sweet potato crust.
Ooh. You even have a crust? I don't think I've ever done a breakfast casserole with a crust.
It kind of ends up being a crust. So you cook a sweet potato and then you slice it into rounds.
And then place it on the bottom?
On the bottom of a 9x12 pan. And then you crack, 10 to 12 eggs because it's a 9x12.
Yeah.
Or 9x13. That's the size, right? 9x13. And then you beat all of your, dozen or almost a dozen eggs, whatever you're feeling. And you add some seasonings. Smoked paprika is really yummy in that.
Yeah.
With the sweet potato. Garlic, whatever else you want. Maybe some diced ham is always good.
Yeah.
Spinach. You could even do some bacon. Pour that over the sweet potatoes and then bake it till it's set, which ends up being about 30-ish minutes.
It depends.
Yeah. Kind of depends. Yeah, it depends on your oven heat and stuff like that. So you could watch it. So yeah.
Nice.
Then you can just cut that into squares and everybody gets one.
I love eggs and kind of the meat, the bacons and the sausages in general for breakfast or for brunch. But I also, one of the things that I really love about brunch is the pastries that are involved, because I feel like you can prepare those ahead of time and they keep really well and they're considered the lighter fare. Like they don't stick to your guts as much. So
what kind of pastries are you talking about?
Croissant, donuts, things that, bear claws. Bear claws, is that a thing? That's a thing.
I'm thinking those kind of stick.
Well, they do.
I'm going to call you out on that.
No.
Those stick.
Those will stick, but I'm just saying
donuts stick.
Okay, so I'm a sweet savory type of person, so like brunch is up my alley because I'm like I can have a sweet donut and a breakfast casserole that is savory.
True.
That's why I like brunch.
So I think some of the key components when you're hosting a brunch, you'll want something kind of healthy. So you can, because there's so many, there's fruit, or some eggs or a veggie side. You can even do a salad because it's brunch.
It's brunch.
So you can do salad with your eggs and bacon. Like that's totally fine. I think you should include a protein of some sort.
Yep.
Again,
eggs,
your egg,
your meat,
some meat, whatever. And fun drinks. Whatever your fun drink of choice is. Now, you could do a boozy brunch.
Yep.
A recovery brunch where you have you were boozy the night before and maybe you need a Bloody Mary today.
That's what basically it was started as, right?
Yeah.
Hangover cure.
Brunch. Or a coffee drink of some sort because some people need that caffeine. Or if you're into none of those, a juice or maybe fruit infused water.
Yeah, I was going to say you can do a lot of fun things with juices.
Yeah.
And fruit.
Yeah. And I would say pick some glass to serve that in because that's always really pretty. The fruit infused water, you can do like a lemon and raspberry, blackberry lime, grapefruit rosemary. Options are endless there.
That sounds good.
And that can also fall into your healthy category. Like you had something healthy.
Totally. It was
and
totally
then you
healthy.
had these bear claws.
I have no.
One of my favorite things to do for brunch is to do candied bacon.
Oh.
I think I've talked about that before.
Yes, you have.
The coffee bacon.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I still haven't tried it yet. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm curious to see what other people have at brunches because I know it varies culturally, regionally, I'm sure. So let us know. We'd love to hear from you on Instagram at Hungry Squared or on Twitter at Hungry Squared. Or you can just write us an email because we want to just hear about your brunches. And if you go out to brunch with your mom.
Yeah.
For Mother's Day.
Mother's Day brunch?
Yeah, because people do that. That's a thing.
Last year, I got to participate in my friend's tradition they're my extended family, of their Mother's Day brunch, and they go to the Indian buffet.
Really?
It was good.
See? That sounds fun. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear from you guys. How do you brunch? Mother's Day is next week, so let's hear how you brunch.
Our podcast is brought to you by our awesome and food-loving sponsor, ThermoWorks.
ThermoWorks.
Right now, ThermoWorks has a sale on the IRK2 meter and probe kit.
Yes.
It's $26 off right now. And the IRK, that's the infrared gun.
Yep. So you can do kind of the measuring of the temperature on the surface, as well as you have this probe situation as well. So you can do internal temperature and external temperature of whatever you're cooking.
So this is great if you use cast iron. Okay.
Why do you say that, Sharon?
Because sometimes you really want to know what that temperature is of your Dutch oven. If you are maybe cooking outside.
Yes.
And I'm not saying to haul your infrared gun with you when you go camping, but you could.
You totally could. They're actually quite compact. I think they're pretty neato that way. So I actually was in a recent dinner that was kind of sponsored by ThermoWorks, and it was so much fun. I learned so much because we cooked dinner together.
Right.
It was great. But Martin Earl, he's the chef and the food editor at ThermoWorks, and he talked specifically about like, okay, you should temp things before you cook it. You should temp things after or during your cooking. You can temp the grill. And so he was like shooting the infrared gun on the grill to make sure it was smoking hot because we were just searing steaks. And it was pretty cool to be like, oh, okay. There's a lot that they do for education to make sure that you know how to cook food well. I mean, we did a whole entire episode on thermometry with them, and it was so interesting.
It was. Even if you're cooking just an everyday type of a thing, and you know how you're supposed to heat your oil in your pan before you add the food, but you don't want to get the oil kind of rancid, like you don't want to heat it up that much.
You don't want it to burn.
Right. So it needs to be added to a hot pan.
Yeah.
The infrared thermometer is perfect.
That's perfect. Well, and they have whole loads of other products too, and they have sales going all the time. So take a look there. Father's Day is coming up, everybody.
Father's Day.
So take a gander. Your fathers will appreciate it. And just head over to Hungry Squared and you can just click on our link.
Yep. Just go to hungrysquared.com, click on the ThermoWorks link, and make any purchase there, and you will be supporting our podcast at no extra cost to you.
Thank you, ThermoWorks.
Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is the segment where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. You can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, food fight. The food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
Sharon, do you have this week's question? I think you do, because I don't have it.
I've got it.
Okay.
Dear Sharon and Winter, recently we had a family reunion where we went out to eat a lot. Several family members joined in dinner at restaurants several nights last week, and one family member paid each time. The same family member paid each time. I feel kind of horrible because she didn't have to do that, but she was very insistent. How can I adequately express my gratitude to her? I feel really guilty and that I should do something in return, but I am unsure of what to do. Can you help?
Ooh, it sounded like a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm. Family reunion, that's usually a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
And paying each night.
That's a lot. There are some people that are really willing to do that, though.
That's true.
And they have the means to do that.
It's true.
I'm not sure. I would probably, if they are really just trying to help everybody out and contribute to the family reunion, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I was going to say, sometimes family reunions take a bit of money to pull off.
Yeah, and they're out of town family.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
So maybe that's maybe why she is going to the extra effort to provide some, because I mean, family reunion time is starting to pick up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's spring.
Yeah, spring, summer, we're going to be, it'll be full swing here before all too long. So I think you can just say thank you. And if you really want to, write a thank you note for that, because that is extremely generous, especially if it's you and your family and everybody else.
Yeah.
You can say thank you for your family.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. What would you do?
I think it's really nice to send a thank you card.
Yeah.
I think since it's a family reunion, I assume that everybody kind of takes part, or at least a little bit, in hosting or contributing to the effort, doing some of the work.
T-shirts or
organizing
the venues or whatever.
Whatever it is. And some people have such big families that they rotate those responsibilities. It just, every family's different, obviously, so it just kind of depends. But I think a sincere thank you and a card is in order.
Yeah, that is very...
I mean, there's some things that people do for you that you don't necessarily get to repay. Sometimes you can, and sometimes you just have to pay it forward.
Yeah.
But I think, staying in touch with that family member and really, just expressing your gratitude at their kindness is sometimes all you can do.
Yeah. And that may be, if they're insisting on it, then she probably has the means. She probably wants to, and this is her way of contributing. So I think a simple thank you, a sincere thank you, like you said, is what you can do, dear listener, I think.
Yeah. Send a card.
Send a card.
That's coming back in style.
I mean, if
for so long we weren't writing thank you cards, bring it back.
Bring it back. It really is fun getting mail, especially when it's not a bill.
Yeah, that's the only way you get mail anymore is like junk mail and bills.
So sending a thank you card or a thank you letter, and if you've got kids or something, make them sign it too.
Yeah, have them draw a picture.
Yeah, I think it's very considerate. Okay, I think I'm good with that.
Glad your family's nice.
I know, that's really nice, because some family reunions are a disaster. So,
or just entertaining stories for later.
Exactly. Well, good job. Good job with your family.
Wasn't that a fun replay?
Oh my goodness. That was 2 years ago, Sharon. I love brunch still. Even more, I think.
Thanks for joining us today for our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com, on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify.
You guys, thank you so much for being our fellow food nerds, and we just love you guys. We don't tell you that enough. We love you. Thank you for coming back and listening and sharing our podcast. Anyway, join us next time for our next episode of Food Nerdery.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.